From bananas growing on trees and blind bats to horned Viking helmets and nails growing after death, here are 22 false facts you thought were true.
This too will pass. Don't swallow your gum. It'll take 7 years to digest, or so you were told. But medical experts say that while a portion of gum is indigestible, it will simply pass through the gastrointestinal tract to be released. As for the portion that is digestible, it won't stick in your system and gum up your intestines, but it will be digested within a normal span of time.
If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications so you never miss an upload.
Using deodorant causes cancer. First, you have to recognize the difference between deodorants and antiperspirants. Antiperspirants use aluminum-based ingredients to keep your sweat glands under control. Deodorants typically do not contain aluminum, but can contain compounds that kill bacteria. While they don't keep you from sweating, they do serve to mask the odor. It's the aluminum contained in antiperspirants that might increase the risk of breast cancer if used over long periods. But the American Cancer Society says there is little, if any, scientific evidence to support this claim. Carbohydrates make you gain weight. If you want to lose weight, you're often told to cut down on the carbs, but many experts say there's nothing necessarily fattening about carbohydrates. Grains, vegetables, and fruits contain complex carbs that are vital because they supply the body with energy.
If you're trying to reduce carbohydrates in your diet, focus on the ones that are refined or simple. Some examples are foods that contain high amounts of white flour and/or sugar.
Cracking knuckles is bad. Do this and you increase your chances of getting arthritis. Aside from the sound, the practice causes little more than an annoyance. The cracking or popping sound is caused by air being displaced in the joints and/or ligaments and tendons that are stretching over the surface of the joints. Fresh veggies. Growing up, maybe you heard that fresh vegetables are better for you than their frozen counterparts, but many studies have asserted that frozen fruits and veggies can be just as nutritious. From the time they're picked on farms to the time they arrive at your local grocery, fruits and vegetables can lose a lot of their nutrients. The frozen varieties can actually retain their nutrients better because they're immediately processed once picked. Alcohol relieves the chill. The idea that alcohol warms you up is partially true, because drinking it can make your skin feel warm. But what happens is that veins have to pump more blood because alcohol dilates blood vessels and lowers your body temperature. The process actually causes the core heat of your body to dissipate. Eat more protein. Almost any food in the grocery store these days has been pumped up with a dose of protein. That's understandable since the micronutrient can help with muscle growth and weight loss. But overdoing a good thing can be bad for you. An excess of protein can lead to kidney problems and might even make you gain weight. Experts say protein should make up no more than 15% of your daily diet. That works out to about 55 grams for men and 45 grams for women. Hotheads. We're told that most of our body heat escapes from our heads, so we should wear a hat to keep warm.
Many doctors consider this a myth and say that no more than 10% of our body heat escapes through our head. Any exposed body part, including hands and toes, can cause a disproportionate amount of heat to be lost.
Never wake up a sleepwalker. A number of fatal events might occur according to this popular myth. Waking a sleepwalker might cause shock, brain damage, or a heart attack. Experts say that is just not the case. But they do caution that care must be taken when rousing the sleepwalker. They might be temporarily confused or so distressed that they might lash out at anyone in front of them. So it's best not to be in their way when the sleepwalker is woke. Hollow black holes. The name might imply an empty space, but this galactic phenomenon is not really hollow. Black holes occur when the center of a huge star collapses in on itself, which causes a supernova or an exploding star. When matter has been densely packed into a tight space that generates an incredible amount of gravity that's powerful enough to keep light from escaping. Because of that, black holes are invisible and can only be detected with space telescopes equipped with special tools to locate them. Brainpower. We've all heard the stories that we only use about 10% of our brain power. In fact, we're using all the brain power we currently have, just not all at once. Neurologists compare our brains to a computer that contains software and programs enabling it to perform a wide array of tasks. Like a computer, not every application is being used at a given time. When you're concentrating on a specific task, the parts of the brain most necessary to complete the job become more active. Einstein flunked math. Those of us who were lacking in arithmetic skills could always take solace that even a genius like Albert Einstein failed at math. Unfortunately, this formula doesn't add up. It turns out that Albert was adept at crunching the numbers when he was a youngster and had mastered calculus by the time he was 15. Part of the misunderstanding might stem from Einstein failing the entrance exam to a top-notch academy when he was 16. It was actually the non-science subjects like French which relatively tripped him up. We have 5 senses. Traditionally, the 5 senses possessed by humans are said to be sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. While that sounds sensible, it turns out to be false. Each of the main 5 senses is comprised of sensors.
As an example, our sense of touch can differentiate between pressure, vibration, temperature, and pain, among other sensations. By that definition, our additional senses would include the sense of balance, hunger, thirst, and breathing, among others. In fact, neurologists have tallied up as many as 21 senses possessed by humans.
Dogs sweat by salivating. It's a familiar sight and a familiar myth. But while our canine friends do possess sweat glands, none are located on their tongues. Dogs have sweat glands located in their paws or foot pads, but their primary way of keeping cool is by panting with their mouths open. That regulates their body temperature by allowing the moisture from their tongue to evaporate. Toilets breed germs. Restrooms are where you're most likely to become infected with germs, or so they say. In fact, it's unlikely to contract germs from a toilet door or door handle. Germs thrive in environments that are moist and warm and cannot survive long on hard, dry surfaces. But here are some familiar places that have far more germs than the toilet. The cutting board in your kitchen, your pet's food dish, computer keyboards, and even your smartphone or tablet. They've all been proven to have higher levels of bacteria, including E. coli and staph. Killer coins. According to this myth, dropping a coin from the top of the Empire State Building will build up enough velocity from its descent that it could split a human skull in 2. Not so. A penny dropped from the landmark would fall at a speed of just over 64 miles an hour. At that rate, in distance, it turns out the coin would do little, if any, damage to a person, and it certainly wouldn't kill them, so our skulls are safe. Banana trees. Ever hear that the popular fruit grows on trees? The misunderstanding stems from a technicality. Bananas grow on plants that can grow some 30 feet tall, but they're not considered trees because they contain no woody tissue. Instead of trunks, these plants have pseudostems, which are composed of densely packed leaves. In fact, the plant is a type of perennial herb, like an orchid, and the banana fruit is technically the plant's berry. Too big to miss. Ever hear that the Great Wall of China is visible from the moon? Stretching more than 5,500 miles, the legendary structure seems large enough to support that claim. In fact, some archaeological surveys have concluded that including its branches, the entire wall measures nearly 13,000 miles. But it's nearly impossible to discern any Earth structure from the moon with the naked eye.
In the case of the Great Wall, its narrowness and coloration blends in too well with the natural contours of the land surrounding it to truly stand out. Experts say it would be like trying to discern the details of a single strand of human hair from a distance of 2 miles away.
Blind as a bat. We've all heard that expression as a reference to someone who doesn't see so well, but that's a disservice to bats since the flying mammals do possess eyesight. In fact, some of the larger species can see better than humans. According to experts, all bats can see and are sensitive to changing levels of light. That serves as a way of knowing when night has fallen and it's time to come out to play. Viking helmets. Most of the movies and TV shows featuring Vikings usually show the Northmen wearing horned helmets. That's become something of a stereotype, but there's no basis for it in history. In fact, during the Viking Age, between the 8th and 11th centuries, most of the Vikings are depicted either wearing no headgear or simple helmets made of leather or iron. It's thought that the popular image of horned helmets probably started in the 1800s when artists of the period included the headgear in their interpretation of the raiders. The look became popularized when horned helmets were used for Viking characters in Wagner's opera The Ring of the Nibelungen. Nails grow after death. This morbid myth actually has its basis in an optical illusion. Because the human body dehydrates after death, the skin starts to retract from the nails and hair. The nails remain the same length, they just appear longer as the skin continues to pull back. That shrinkage factor also accounts for hair that seems to be growing after death.
What are some other facts you grew up thinking were true, but found out later were completely false? Let me know in the comments below.
1. The highest mountain. At some 29,029 feet, Mount Everest is the world's tallest mountain. That's actually correct if you're measuring a mountain from sea level to summit. But if you're measuring from base to summit, the winner is actually Mauna Kea in Hawaii. It's an inactive volcano whose base is located deep in the Pacific Ocean, so most of it is underwater. But if you add the mountain's hidden height to its summit, Mauna Kea has a total height of 33,500 feet. That's almost a mile taller than Mount Everest.